if we're recording.
Yes.
Excellent. All right. In accordance with the OPMA Public Meetings Act and due to the current state of emergency and public health emergency declared by Governor Phil Murphy and in an effort to prevent further spread of COVID-19, the November 18th, 2020 Planning Board meeting will be held virtual via Zoom in lieu of an in-person meeting. This meeting is scheduled to commence at 7:30. Notice of this virtual teleconference meeting was posted at the Borough Municipal Building, posted on the Borough Bulletin Board designed for that purpose, mailed to the official newspapers as provided by Borough Ordinance, filed by the municipal clerk, and on the Borough website 48 hours prior to this meeting, giving the time, date, location, and login/call-in information for this virtual meeting. The meeting is started at 7:33. Roll call, please.
Mayor Marr,
Present.
Councilman Carter,
Present.
Mr. Boris,
Here.
Mr. Jukes,
Here.
Mr. Lysicatos, Ms. Seefeld,
Here.
Mr. Sherry,
Here.
Mr. Steigerwald, Mr. Matty,
Here.
Ms. Hamel,
Here.
Ms. Moore,
Here.
Mr. Molinar,
Here.
Mr. Bulis,
Here.
Mr. Sullivan,
Present.
Mr. Panagopoulos,
Present.
Ms. Patel.
Here.
We have a quorum, thank you.
Excellent. So we do not have any minutes to approve. So we will jump to old business, block 65, lot 2 and 3, 274, 278, and 282 South Avenue, Soho Landmark. The only thing, Mr. Skolink, is it looks like your property owner still is having issues with the audio. How would you like to proceed? And you're muted. There you go.
Well, I'm the contract purchaser, so I think we're okay.
Okay.
On that, Richard Skolnick on behalf of the applicant. I heard 10 board members. Can I just confirm we have a full slate of 9 that are eligible for tonight that have either watched or heard the transcripts and so on? We're all set with that?
Yeah.
That's right.
Okay, thank you very much. So Chairman, we were last here October 28th. We had extensive testimony from our civil engineer and our traffic engineer. For tonight, we have just a few minutes from our civil engineer. We were able to incorporate a number of suggestions. We have a couple of clarifications. So we'd like to run through those 5 or 10 minutes. And then we will pick up with our planning testimony. And that's going to be with Mr. Larson. If you recall, he was qualified as both a architect and a professional planner.
Yes. All experts have been qualified and have also been sworn in. So you're still under oath. So.
Okay, Mr. Shanel, if you would bring up the revised plans, and we have just a couple items to go over. I'll let you take it away, and then I'll clean up with any questions, if that's okay.
Excellent. Thank you, Mr. Skolnick. Good evening, Chairman, members of the board. Again, thank you for your time this evening. I will be very brief this evening. Let me just take a moment to share my screen.
Okay, Dan, when you refer to plans that are in the record, call out the sheet number and the date. If it's a new exhibit, please let us know. The next one's going to be A13.
Absolutely. Can anybody see my screen? Just give me a nod, make sure everything's good. All right, excellent. So the exhibit that I have on the screen before you this evening is essentially a colorized version of the most recently updated site plan that we have resubmitted to the board. This will be identified as Exhibit A13. It is titled Site Plan, and it has a date of November 18th, 2020. And again, it's just a colorized version of the most recent site plan that we last submitted. So essentially the changes since we were last to this board We updated our building footprint. The only change is now the westernmost corner of the building has a chamfered corner. As a result, we had a reduction in about 40 square feet of the proposed retail portion of the building on the first floor in the western corner. But that gives that additional entrance element to the building that our architect, Mr. Larson, can touch upon a little bit further this evening if anybody has any further questions on that. In
What was the
addition,
word you used? Chamfered?
yes, yep, the corner's chopped off.
How do you spell that?
Good question.
Chamfered. Okay.
MPH. Also, as requested, we added the detectable warnings to the driveway entrances for ADA compliant design. The previously proposed gazebo in the southern corner of the site has been removed. As a result of that, there were 3 associated variances that essentially become eliminated with the elimination of that gazebo pergola area. Additionally, we did extend the wall that is essentially along the southeastern corner or side of the parking garage, essentially extending that wall a height of about 36 inches to make sure the headlights from any vehicles pointing the residents to the south of us will be completely blocked by that wall. Additionally, we will be providing the essentially curbed island around our landscape screening along the southern property line. And we did confirm that the fire hydrant location, there is a fire hydrant on Martine Avenue directly to the south of our site near the Hallmark store parking area that would be well within the vicinity of our site, an adequate distance away from our proposed building for firefighting needs. Additionally, we have agreed to provide some decorative style bike parking along South Avenue. It's not shown on the plan yet, but we'd be more than happy to work with the town and your professionals to provide a more decorative style bike parking as a part of our streetscape along South Avenue. My next exhibit this evening.
Dan, you hit it quickly. We added those truncated domes at the driveways. Can you just explain what that was? I
Yes,
think it was Board Member Molnar's
Yep, absolutely.
suggestion.
Yeah, so we did add the truncated domes, which are essentially those the bumps, the mats with the bumps that you see at crosswalks for streets, and it's just for people with that are vision impaired to identify vehicle crossing. So we did add those to the driveway areas as requested.
Okay, thank you.
I'm sorry, just to confirm, they're on the sidewalk, right? Not in the garage, is that?
They're on the sidewalk. That is correct.
You're not showing them here, right? Or you're just calling them
They're
out?
on there. It's just hard to see in the rendering. It's right here, and it's called out.
Okay. Oh, yeah, okay. It's like a different shade of gray than the other gray.
Yes. Yep. But they're clearly delineated on our site plan, and we'll make sure that they are proposed. So unless there's any specific questions on this rendering, I wanted to switch over to my next exhibit this evening, which is going to be a series of essentially 3 separate pages. The first of which,
And just to say, we'll go through all of the testimonies and then get to the questions, just to have to do it once. So don't worry about questions at this stage.
Excellent, thank you. So my next exhibit this evening is essentially, I'll call this an existing First Street parking exhibit. And it is actually undated, but we can add a date of today, which would be again November 18th. Essentially, all this is the aerial view of the subject site, and it's identifying the parking spaces that are in vicinity of our development on First Street. So you can see here in the yellow shaded boxes, these are 8 foot wide by 20 foot in length shaded boxes, and this is identifying the parking spaces that currently exist on First Street. So you'll notice we have this large driveway opening for the existing building. So it's essentially just a very large drive area, so you're not able to get any parking. On the opposite side of First Ave, we have the 50-foot yellow striped area where you're not allowed to have parking from a stop sign, but there is one available parking space directly to the opposite side of First Ave. And there's 2 additional parking spaces that are in front of the the residence that's on the opposite side of First Street, the first residence. So as you can see, in the immediate vicinity of our site, there are 4 available parking spaces under existing conditions. Switching
So
over.
Dan, this is exhibit A14 and it's going to be a 3-page exhibit, correct?
Yes. Yep.
Okay.
Absolutely.
I thought you said we were on, I thought we were on A13.
A13 was the rendered site plan.
Okay,
And then the next exhibit is 3 pages, the first of which is existing First Street.
Exactly. The next page of this exhibit would be the proposed conditions. So on this exhibit, you could see that we have identified 4 parking spaces. They might be in different location, but it shows that we are not losing any parking spaces on First Street. So we do lose a parking space that would be directly opposite of our fire department access, which would be the space that is located here, identified as space number 3. So we do lose that space, and the only reason we're losing that space is because, because of the fire truck needing to come and swing in to the fire department access to the rear. The space that's identified as number 3, which is the space that is right at the end of the 50-foot no parking zone after the stop sign, that space can remain. There is still adequate room for the fire truck to come down the center of the road and begin their swing into the fire access to the rear of the building. The one space that we have gained is a space that is closer to the intersection of South Ave and First Street. It is about 25 feet away from the intersection, so you can park here. But if you recall, under existing conditions, we have this large driveway area, so there's no parking available there. However, now we do gain a spot there. So essentially, under proposed conditions, it's a wash. We're not losing any parking associated with First Street because of our development. The final portion of this exhibit is our loading space. So we mentioned a few times in our hearings prior to this one that we would, in situations when tenants are moving in and moving out, we would reserve a parking space on First Ave to allow the moving truck to park and essentially load and unload to the existing parking. We were originally thought that we would have to block one of the driveways. However, after some further research with our traffic engineer, Mr. Steiger, and we researched typical moving vans, U-Haul actually has specific sizes listed on their website and recommended sizes of trucks for a typical size apartment or house, what you would need to move all of your furniture and belongings out of one place to the next. So we looked at their website. We identified for a 2-bedroom house, so not even a 2-bedroom apartment. We took the more conservative approach. For a 2-bedroom house, they recommended their truck that equates to about 26 feet in length, and it's about 8 foot in width. So as a result, this shaded box here is a 8-foot wide box that is 26.5 feet long, equivalent to a U-Haul truck that would be used for moving a typical size apartment. And as you can see, we actually do not block any of the driveways. We can reserve the single parking space that's between the 2 driveways. Management would come out knowing that someone's either moving in or moving out that day. They would reserve that parking space for the day. It would allow the moving truck to park in this space, unload, and load throughout the day. Additionally, management and our applicant looked at their similar developments or similar apartment buildings in the area, and they identified about 14% of the apartments in the year experience a changeover. So we are proposing 58 units in this building. And again, taking a conservative approach, we assumed rather than 14% people moving in and out, we bumped that number up to 20. So with 58 units, 20% moving in and out a year, that results in 12 move-in, move-outs per year. Assuming, one day you're moving in, next day somebody else comes or one day you're moving out, the next day the next person comes to move back in. So that number is doubled. So you're essentially looking about 2 times per month that you're going to need to occupy this parking space for a moving van. So it's not significant. It's not going to happen, multiple times a week. We're really anticipating this to happen, at most twice a year. And again, it's not
Twice a month, right? Twice a month.
Yes, twice a month. It's not going to block a driveway. We have adequate space for loading operations to take place there. And with the dimension of this truck, it's essentially the same length as a UPS or FedEx truck. So when UPS and FedEx are coming to make deliveries, if there's no one parked there, obviously they can occupy this space as well to run inside and drop off the packages and get back in their vehicle to continue their deliveries. Very similar to how it happens today on First Street. We were out there recently for a site visit and saw that very thing happen. UPS actually pulled up, parked in that parking space, ran into the existing building there, dropped off their packages, got back in their truck and left. And I think the process took all of 3 minutes. So, Mr. Skolnick, unless I missed anything, that's the items that I wanted to discuss this evening.
And the idea, Chairman, is, it's not an exact calculation, but we took a look at Station Square in Fanwood where they had a 14% turnover. We bumped that up, about 50%, 14 to 20. And then we multiplied that by the 58 units. So, that gets you to 11.6, 12 move-in, move-outs a year. So we appreciate that there were concerns, certainly, about the impacts on First Street. The move-in, move-out was a concern. We've refined the plan. We've looked more closely. We've gone back and gotten more information. We've shown that we can get a nice-sized U-Haul into that spot between the two driveways. Of course, it's possible to block a driveway. Wouldn't be the end of the world for us either. If one of our driveways was blocked for a couple hours, even that it's not a horrible situation because you can still get out, but we don't have to do that. And we're talking on not precise, but an order of magnitude on a conservative basis of one move in and one move out a month. So we wanted to present that information to help address the concerns of the residents on First Street and along with the other changes that we've made. So that's really all we have with this witness, Chairman. Just some cleanup from some plan revisions. We hope you can see we've endeavored as much as we can to be responsive to the concerns.
I won't be surprised if he might get a few questions about that and such, but I think it was very clear. So are we next to the planner?
Yes, we are.
Okay.
So I'm going to recall Mr. Larson.
Yep.
Mr. Larson, I see you're muted. I don't know if you have to unmute yourself. Rob, can you hear me? There you go.
The computer wasn't cooperating.
Okay, and you understand you're still under oath, Mr. Larson?
I do.
Okay, and you haven't lost any of your licenses since October 28th?
No.
No major infractions?
No.
Okay. So we've eliminated a couple of variances with the loss of the gazebo, but you've analyzed the application in terms of the variance relief that we seek. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, and could you give the board your thoughts and your conclusions concerning the remaining variances?
Okay, you got it. I'll try to just give a quick summary of what I think identify the 4 variances that I think still remain. Just give a little bit of overview on some reminders of the zone, and then get into my proofs. Excuse me. Obviously, I've been present for this hearing each and every time. I've reviewed all the materials, the zone plan, master plan. I've worked in Fanwood for many years, so I'm certainly familiar with this application. And I do believe as a result of all these hearings, we still require 4 variances. And I'm open for correction, obviously. We are, of course, seeking sea-level variances here. One for building height, which is the total building height in feet. We're also seeking that, well, I guess it becomes an additional variance, height in stories as well. Height here in this zone is defined as 45-foot maximum in feet, 3.5 stories in stories. We're also seeking a variance for the ground level story height The ordinance requires a 15-foot ground level height on which is effectively the commercial level, where we are proposing a minimum of 13. We also require a parking count variance. There's been certainly a lot of testimony about that subject. And those numbers have been put on the record, but we are requesting a variance for the number of parking spaces. We are also, obviously, as we were just discussing, asking for a variance to not provide an on-site loading zone. I will, when I get a little later on, happily cite the exact ordinance section. If I may, just
Okay, and Rob, we have the minimum parking space size with where we have the 9x18 and 9x20 required.
yeah. So again, I guess we do officially require a variance. I believe Mr. Steiger spoke to this. While the ordinance permits requires 9x20, RSIS permits 9x18, but we do officially, I guess, require. Again, as I said, please correct me. We do require a parking space size variance as well.
And on the bicycle parking, we really eliminated that because we said we could add more bike racks if they were necessary,
That's correct.
creating a double level. And so there was quite a requirement of 64 total. I think there was conversation, do we really need them? But ultimately, we committed that if they were necessary, we could find places for them. Is that correct? So that's come off, and a bunch of variances for the gazebo have come off as well, correct?
That's correct. And obviously, the fact that we've removed the bike variance was a matter of certain input from, I believe, board members or even one of the commission letters. We had proposed 32. We can certainly accommodate 64. I think the board actually discussed not wanting more. So we're going to remove the variance from the proofs that I give, but certainly would happily hear the board's input. And I think it would be justified, all things considered, to have less bike parking if it were the board's pleasure, and we would request the variance if the board decided that they wanted to actually have us provide less. So if I may, just to remind, and if you'll bear with me a moment, I've been reading and preparing for this, and I just found this commercial corridor district language just super informative. I think it's good for all of us to be reminded of. So again, we are in the commercial corridor district. And if I can read from ordinance 184-119, the commercial corridor district is the main commercial artery through Fanwood Borough. Its pattern of development and that of suburban corridors throughout the United States has been most influenced by a focus on accommodating the automobile. Over time, auto-centric development results in a number of undesirable outcomes, including overpaving of land, maximizing parking, and expedite vehicle entry and exit. The separation of uses where individual properties are disconnected from their surroundings and less attention paid towards the pedestrian experience, good design, and aesthetic environment. More recently, redevelopment and investment in downtown Fanwood has started to reverse this trend. As compact mixed-use developments take shape within the heart of the corridor. New developments within the adjoining Block 64 redevelopment area, for example, feature attractive, highly articulated buildings and site design that caters to the pedestrian experience. The regulations for the CC districts are intended to expand this progress. The purpose of the CC district is to accommodate vehicles, pedestrians, and transit users, stimulate pedestrian use of the corridor, develop attractive buildings and appealing site design, minimize visibility of parking lots and automobile accommodations, and create a visually stimulating and economically viable commercial corridor. I read a lot, thank you for bearing with me, but I really do feel as a planner, as a designer, that very much this development is right in line with those stated intents. Now, within this commercial corridor, we are in the central district, which is the CCC zone. Additionally required, and we have complied with, is an affordable housing overlay that basically when you do this, when you put residential over commercial, the zone requires you in a rental situation provide 15% of affordable housing, which we obviously have shown and we have done. If I can quickly spend a moment and share the architectural plans, I just want to clarify for the record the height variances that we are requesting. To me, there's some very relevant information in them. So if I could share my screen.
Hey, Rob, and the next exhibit's A15.
Okay, this is not an exhibit. This is sheet 11 of 12. My most recent filing set dated November 5th. These drawings were resubmitted architecturally to accommodate, as Mr. Chenal noted, this western clip, the chamfer. Mr. Skolnick, that was accommodated through our discussion with the board at the previous hearing. It is important for me to point out as a planner that we are seeking a variance as the ordinance defines. To be clear, height is taken at the front of the building. We are on a corner. We are fronting on South Avenue and First Street. So the variance that we are seeking is for, again, sea level height variance less than 10% above the maximum. We're seeking 49 feet or 45 feet is required. And the ordinance takes that from a mean grade. So there's a dashed line that we see here, which is the line that we use to calculate height. It's then taken to the mean of the sloped roof. For the board's information, and I think, again, very relevant, there is a 6-foot grade change between the corner here at First and South Avenue and the end of the property, which is the existing home. That means that we're actually taking a height that's at some midpoint here below the ground. And then for the board's information, if we were to look just at First Street, now we need a variance. We have a height situation on South Avenue. But for the board's information, if we were just to look at First Street, which is again a front in and of itself, we are not over the maximum height in terms of feet. The mean grade elevation here to the midpoint of this roof is 45 feet. It's actually an inch or two under, but we've listed it at 45 feet. So the maximum height of building is not exceeded on First Street in terms of feet. In terms of physical characteristics of the existing site, the existing grade at this back corner, the farthest property, it's actually the farthest property point on the other side of our fire lane, all the way around to this front corner on South Avenue. I calculate from the survey about 8.9 feet in height differential. So we do have some grade happening on this site. And what that causes, and I think I said this during my architectural testimony, we want this commercial, as we've read in the ordinance, as we've discussed, and as is just practical, we want this commercial to address the street front. If we were to set 15 feet at this high point, we would then have a 21-foot commercial height by the time we got over here if we all stayed flat. So what we've decided to do is ask for that 13 feet here, incorporate it into the architecture, and then drop the floors of the commercial down, which subsequently, when we get to the middle of the building, we actually get to that 15 feet. So the variance that we're seeking for the ground floor height is really just at this end of the building. And to me, is very practical to the existing site constraints that are present on this site. And again, I also think in terms of overall height in feet, the existing grade does play a factor in restricting how we can see height and maximize our use of that height that's available to us. And I just want to note here, and again, we've even taken the opportunity to take this portion of this eastern wing of the building, just as a reminder, to lower it one floor, as is directly adjacent to the neighboring residence. I think I can stop sharing this now. Okay. So it's my job then to discuss the positive criteria versus the negative criteria of these variances that we're requesting. As I said, when I consider this zone, I certainly think we are very much in line with the intent of the commercial corridor central district, and would be happy to read more of the additional intents, which accommodate vehicles, stimulate pedestrian corridor, develop attractive buildings, minimize visibility of parking lots, create visually and stimulating an economically viable commercial corridor. I think very much this development does that. Further, we asked the question, does this further any of the intents of the municipal land use law? And I feel that it does. I would offer that it furthers purpose A. Here I am under the C2 criteria. I think you might recognize that the municipal land use law permits variances under two different scenarios: a C1, which is for specific site constraints unique that create a hardship, and C2. So this discussion I'm offering is really to discuss under the C2 criteria. I feel that it furthers purpose A, which is speaks to municipal action guiding appropriate development and promoting the general welfare. Again, appropriate development, I think very much so, which is written into the zone and very much in your master plan adopting that very purpose. Purpose E, which is to promote establishment of appropriate population density and concentration that will contribute to the well-being of a neighborhood. We saw some perspectives. I do have some updated perspectives if they're required. We have some larger buildings, beautiful development's been happening just as is suggested in the zone. This is very much filling a gap. We're taking away a smaller office building and a lot of open parking lot pavement and bringing in what I think is a very appropriate continuation of that walkable downtown that I feel Fanwood is looking for. I do admit this is a transitional site. We are adjacent to the existing First Street neighbors, but this zone, this plan has been thought out and I think is a very good transitional site. I would offer that we also further purpose G, which is to provide sufficient space and appropriate locations for residential and commercial according to their environments to meet the needs of New Jersey citizens. You heard me talk as an architect about this unique variety of rental housing, the fact that we are right by the train station, which you guys know all too well. I do feel that we've put a lot of effort into not only creating a beautiful building, but one that creates a variety of housing that's special, that's very appropriate for this world that we live in today, and certainly appropriate for its environment of the train station and this downtown. I always love to use purpose I when I'm also the architect, which is to create a desirable visual environment. So you can laugh at me for saying that, but I do feel that it's an attractive building. It's very much in the character of the architecture that's established in your community somewhat uniquely. We do then have to consider, are there the negative criteria? Does this affect the granting of these variances affect the zone plan? My opinion is it does not. We very much are in line with the mixed use intent, the non-automobile centric idea, the use or the benefit of the transit orientation. So it is my opinion that there is no negative effect on your zone plan. I think we are very appropriate for what the zone plan intends. Your master plan, there are multiple stated goals of your master plan that I feel that we're very much in line with. The land use plan should recognize the physical characteristics of the borough and acknowledge the inherent capability of lands to support the physical development. Again, this has been identified in your master plan as a area that is to be upgraded where multifamily housing over retail is to be brought. But we're very much in line with that. In fact, purpose or intent of your master plan 5, the soon to be enlarged central commercial zone provides for construction of apartment flats over newly constructed businesses. in an effort to provide additional housing and additional affordable housing, which I think cannot be forgotten when we speak to the positive aspect as well. But in terms of negative effect on the master plan, I feel there is none. We then get into, is there a substantial detriment to the public good by the permission of these variances? While we are asking for variances in terms of height in feet, we are, as I expressed, we have addressed the First Street frontage, which would be the place where we would say, let's look towards the neighbors. So in terms of feet, we are not in excess of what is permitted. We are asking for a story variance, which has been how we slice the interior of the building to permit us to, we feel, provide a more appropriate and just a more valuable type of housing within this structure. That said, the height of the building would be, could be no shorter, no matter how, if you sliced it differently. We have made efforts to pull away from that side. Obviously, there's the fire lane, but also we've brought down the closest end of the building that is next to the existing residence. So the question that I'm asking the planner is, there is substantial detriment to the neighbors. And it's my opinion that this is a building that is very much in a zone on a site that is intended for this use. And it is a wonderful transitional site. So there is no substantial detriment, in my opinion, to the existing neighbors. We then have to weigh that and say, you've heard all of us testify, as to the aspects of this project. Do the benefits of this board granting the variances that we're requesting outweigh any detriment or any perceived detriment? It is my opinion that they certainly do, that this is a very, very appropriate, positive project for Fanwood. It's bringing affordable housing. It's extending the walkability, just the vibrance of your downtown very much as is intended. I'm certainly available for any questions. I have a lot more information here, so happy to discuss. And as I said, we have prepared additional imagery to accept the clipping of the building as well. So I remain available for your questions. Mr. Skolnick, that would be the end of my planning testimony.
Okay, so Rob, let's just bear down a little bit on which of the variances are supported on the C1 hardship grounds versus the C2 planning or benefits outweigh the burdens grounds. And I want to go relatively quickly, but I do want to bear down on that. So let's just take the loading space first. I take it you're relying upon the proofs that we've been able to accomplish reasonable loading with the interior parking. And can you just bear down that you see that as a C2 or C1 or both?
I see that as a C2, considering the testimony that we've heard from both Mr. Schnall and Mr. Steiger. The C1 requirements would not speak so much to the unique grading, although I would remind that the zoning ordinance requires the loading, or suggests that the loading have circulation across the site. We're a corner on a state highway. We've heard a lot of testimony as to what it would be to bring a new driveway out to the state highway. So Mr. Skolnick, I would remain under the C2 criteria for this, that the benefits of permitting us, considering the testimony to use the loading zone on the street for the limited activities, I would remain under the C2, all things considered, with testimony that's been offered.
Okay, on minimum parking size space, I take it you really see that as a de minimis type of variance, because we are proposing what's pretty standard in the industry, 9 by 18. We just don't have the 2-foot overhang. You see that as C1 or C2, Rob?
When it comes to the size of the space, again, we are in the land of C2. And I'm quite sure your professionals will hopefully would agree that when considering the residential parking, those spaces that are set aside for residential use, it is actually the RSIS that would govern, and their size is a 9 by 18, so we are compliant with RSIS. There are commercial spaces, and therefore we do require the 2-foot variation. I did hear, and I've, as many times as a professional, we've gone to the 9 by 18 spaces in a small mixed use shared parking scenario like we have. We also have plenty of overhang on the sidewalks that are adjacent. And again, this was testimony that was offered. So the size of the space to me, again, is supported by, we are a very typical mixed use downtown commercial and residential project. And you've heard the testimony that is supported by those professionals.
Okay, on the issue of the number of parking spaces, the ordinance is a little unclear whether it's RSIS or your ordinance or some sort of combination. But on the point where, given the downtown location near the train station, I take it you don't see any detriments with the number of parking spaces.
Well, and I would go even further. So yes, we are in a downtown. We are certainly walkable to the train station. And in addition, we've heard, and again, not just from the professionals on this team, but I've heard as a planner over the last year or two that the need for parking has been reduced overall, not even just associated with train stations. So besides the fact that we are obviously transit oriented, we've heard the testimony from the traffic engineer and the site engineer that this is sufficient parking for this mixed shared situation. So again, we do, to be clear, the ordinance does require 1.5 spaces per dwelling unit, which is ordinance 189, 119 F9. So we are asking for that variance from that, which is a 1.5 required for the residential. And I believe and Mr. Schnall, perhaps you could fix my number, but to be exact, we have 91 parking spaces. 15 of them are required for the retail. And we are left with 86 split across 58 units. I believe that's a ratio of 1.31, where 1.5 is required. Again, I agree. I happen to agree as a professional with my peers, and we've heard the testimony to support that parking ratio being substantially ample for this development.
Okay, and to just take two last points, the minimum ground story height, you testified that that's really driven by the grade, the changing grade along south. That's obviously a C1 type of variance. Is that correct?
That's true, and that's why I wanted the board to be informed of that. If we were a flat site, we would likely not be having the same conversation, and it's very much the same for the total height in terms of mean to mid, because we're gaining about 3 feet. We are asking for a 4-foot variance, but the substantial portion of the height in feet is caused by that grade change across South Avenue.
Okay, and then just to conclude, which is obviously an issue of concern, is the height. And you talked about the fact that along First, we are compliant with the height.
In feet, that is true, yes.
Okay, and so in terms of massing, what the governing body has said is 45 feet is okay, and we've complied with that. It's really the inside of the building that needs the story variance, but we're okay on density. Is that correct? There's no density variance here.
Density requirement for the zone that to my knowledge, and I would certainly ask the board's planner to verify.
Okay, and you've raised this point in terms of the facade on South that we have a relatively minor variance. It's a C-type variance on the height, but we do come close to the 45 feet that's permitted. That's what's contemplated here. And it's, the issues of the roof and the grading and so on that are driving that variance. Would you call that a C1, you think?
Well, again, I would offer the C2. In terms of the overall height, I'd like to allow us to stay supported on the C2. And the board, I'm quite sure, knows their own town better than I, but we have an elevation, if I may share again, my screen, which we have a gutter line here at the 3rd story. We have multiple buildings adjacent to us, and I have spent time, and you reminded me to share this. We have spent time going out and looking at the Chelsea, which is across the street, which happens to be a 4-story building on top of a berm from the sidewalk. We've also looked at the Elite building on the other corner of Martine, and we are very much in the scale and proportion of those buildings. The building next door across First Street, it has the Witch Hat Peaks on it. It is a 3-story building, but if I may, I'd like to offer an additional exhibit if that's okay.
Yep, we're okay. We're within reasonable time.
Just identify it when you're bringing it up. We're at 15 or 14?
We are gonna be on 15.
16.
A14 was a 3-page exhibit, so we're on A15. If you just call out what the exhibit is.
So A15 is what I've called the northeast bird's eye. Nobody would ever hover in the air like this. I do realize that. And again, this is an artistic representation of the proposed development. But it does show for reference the building across First, which is on a raised area to the commercial. And we hold that same beautiful architecture on that building. We have the Chelsea directly across the street on South. Again, this 4-story gutter line where ours is 3. The upper portions of our building are very much undersloped roof. And we can see the Elite building in the distance. No, this does not accommodate every existing condition, so I apologize already to the public. We prepared this image to really show a little context and a little proportion with the other structures in the area on South Avenue. And because it was a comment from your planner, if I may put my architect's hat on, the filed plans have additional treatment on the ground floor level of First Street. So this is A15.
This is 15. And
All right.
Rob, if you could just talk to remind the board where we brought the story down adjacent
Yeah, that's
to the property owner.
this perspective not do a good job of showing there's a roof in the way, but I'll use this. I'd like to share 1 or 2 more, but I'll use this to comment that this corner tower is a 4-story tower. It is exempt from the height requirements. It is actually specifically permitted to be 4 stories in this location. And these towers are also considered exemptions. Since April, when I think we first submitted a plan to the board's professionals, all through the summer until now, I have spent a lot of time on height. And I'm very confident as an architect and planner that the numbers that I've given are appropriate as defined by the ordinance, and that each of these elements has been handled correctly. If I may, we also prepared this perspective, which I guess will be A16. A16 is a view looking down First Street, showing again, we've added some treatment to the walls. This is meant to actually be open grill work. And you can see this experience, and right here.
You want to give it a title so we have it?
Sure, I've noted this as A16 First Street vignette. And Mr. Chenal, there, right here behind this guy's legs would be your detectable strips, truncated domes before you cross this here. So just to give the scale and idea of this walkable front on First Street.
Okay, anything else, Mr. Larson?
Yeah, we have other images, and I think, you know, I'm happy to continue to share them. We did, if I may, let's go back to this for a moment.
Okay, well, you're gonna have to decide, because the board's not gonna, you'll
Oh,
have to decide if you want to call any, and we'll go for, if there's questions, we could always call more, but you got to make the call.
I came back here to sharing my sheet 11 to, again, just remind of this roof break, which takes us down a story, but also to tell you that, we have actually looked at this in multiple different ways to say, we could clip off this roof. Additionally, we could clip it all the way back. We want to relieve this end of this building, and that's what we tried to do, again, to lessen the impact on the neighbor. So that's it for my exhibits.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Larson. Chairman, we rest our case.
All righty. And at the end, Diane, correct me if I'm wrong. After we get through questions and commentary from board and public, they'll have a chance to give their closing arguments or closing comments, not argument. And then we'll close it. Board will have a final discussion to make a resolution.
Correct.
Okay, so different from all the other meetings we've had for this one, now is going to be a chance for the board professionals, then the board members, then the public to both first ask your questions and then provide, after the questions have been answered and that discussion has happened, provide your commentary if you have a commentary. I know the public had a few who wanted to have some comments, and last time it was just questions. But we're going to do it all in one round just to simplify things. I would ask, try to keep your commentary to brief and direct comments. So I'm going to start off with our board professionals. Ray, why don't you take it away if you've got any new questions? I think you're muted.
I think I'm
can hear you.
okay now, right?
Yep.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I appreciate it. Thank you very much. From a zoning point of view, no further questions or comments at this time. Thank you.
Okay. Antonios, any questions?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Most of my comments have been addressed either through testimony, or I expect to see all the technical engineering stuff to be addressed through a resolution compliance review.
Okay.
So I'm good at this point. Thank you.
Ms. Patel, being as we got to the planner finally.
Yes, I see already a lot of my comments also has been addressed by the new plans and elevations, which is also good. Just two minor things I wanted to mention to the architect that we have seen that there are some changes to the elevations now, and that does not affect the fact that they are going to limit the colors of the materials on the building no more than 4. So just to eliminate any design exception.
There will be no, we have complied with the architectural design intent of the ordinance, and we will be sure to not exceed the colors that are required.
Correct. Okay, that's all I have. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
All right. I'm just going to ask one quick question because you mentioned something about the hardship because of the slope of the ground, but I just wanted to check that there's a requirement, and this may be to our official or to the planner, that the actual elevation variance has nothing to do with the slope of the ground because you're going to the middle of the building where you're meeting the height restrictions for the first floor. So really, if the ground was flat, you'd still have the same elevation.
I think that's the 13-foot, 15-foot issue.
Well, Mr. Chairman, just to be clear, because the slope actually brings us to a calculated height line that's below the grade. If it were flat, we would, the line that we start at would come up by 3. Where
you're at the grade, you've got a variance for a shorter bit for a shorter elevation. You'd have to have a taller roof anyway on that first floor. Right?
So if, I'm gonna do the best I can to say, so, and to be clear, for the total height, we were again offering this C2, but my point about the grade is that if it were flat and we could create a compliant 15-foot height, because the height, the line that we're going to is actually below the ground, right? Because we have to go down to the average. If we came up and started, we're just flat, we could go 15 feet. It's my opinion, we would not require that ground floor, the minimum ground floor height of 13 instead of 15. We're trying to address and go along the grade while not just taking the high point and making a taller building, you know?
So you'd still probably be over the 45, but not at 49.
Yes, and,
Okay.
and again, specifically to the ground floor, I don't think we would need it.
Okay, all right. It was just a clarification question. That is all I have. So I will start now. I don't really have too much commentary. So I will now go through the board members. Somehow Michelle always ends up being first. So Michelle, you're up.
You want to, Chairman, do you want to go to the public first?
I think we usually do the board first.
Okay.
Okay, I had a question in regards to the, it has come up in previous meetings talking about the power lines, and I was just wondering, that didn't come up again today, I don't think, and I wanted to see, had there been further discussion or resolution on moving power lines, had that come up?
Chanel on that? I don't think there's been a resolution on that. We would like to, and if we could, we will.
Yep, absolutely. And that's where we stand. At this point, we've met with PSE&G representatives twice out on the site, each time with more people. The last time we had 2 people coming out, and we're working on scheduling a meeting with a third representative from PSE&G, someone who actually performs the work. We're identifying where these circuits go, all the different locations. There's a lot going on in this intersection, but they are giving their best effort along with our team to relocate wires to provide the best possible access.
Thank you. And I understand the discussion about the size of moving trucks and the common moving truck. I just know that I moved in my life, I've moved at least 4 times with a full-size truck. I didn't fill it, but that was still the truck that came to my apartment 4 different times in different locations, came to my apartment. So I'm just wondering, where would that truck go? It may not be an occurrence that would be twice a month, as you're saying, but where would it go?
Yeah, and as we mentioned, in that case, although we feel it would be rare, the largest moving truck that U-Haul offered is about 36 feet in length. And that truck would only extend about midway through one of the driveways. So in that case, yes, we would absolutely take that opportunity for a couple hours out of the day to close down one of our driveways, to block that driveway while still occupying the majority of the space between the 2 driveways to do the loading and unloading operations. But again, we have the capability of closing a driveway, but still having full access to all the parking, just due to the internal circulation ability within the building itself.
But if it was a full-size, like not a U-Haul, but like a full moving cross-country type moving truck, would that still only?
Dan, why don't you bring up that exhibit, the rendered site plan A13? Because what we're saying, Ms. Moore, is we can block our own driveway.
I understand that. What I'm saying is, what if it was a bigger truck, would it block both driveways or one?
It would go, yeah, I mean,
I don't need a U-Haul because I have moved cross-country in a truck. I moved across town from Westfield to Fanwood, and they used a full-size truck. And I've moved across country, so I know it's may not be common, it's possible, and I was just curious if you would block both.
Yeah, in the rare occurrence that we would ever have like a tractor trailer style truck, I'll give you an exact length. So we have scale here. So we would have an available length for parking, starting from the one parking space we identified all the way to about 20 feet from the intersection. We'd have 74 feet, which is essentially longer than any legal tractor trailer that's available on the site. So we would only block one driveway and still have enough room to load and unload that truck.
Thank you. That answers my question. And I think that was all for me for right now. Thank you.
Okay, and I think hearing Diane's comment before, since our commentary from the board usually takes into account the commentary and questions from the public, I will go around before we close it up for our stuff with a commentary from the board so that they can also address anything said by the public. So this is really just questions from the board. Mr. Molinar, you would be up next.
No questions.
Okay. Miss Seefeld, you'd be up. Or Mrs.
I have no further questions.
Mrs. Hamel.
No further questions.
Okay. Mayor Marr.
Hi, just two thoughts. Can you tell us where, and just remind me where the meters or all the utilities are supposed to be going on this, and where, if they would be visible?
So the meters are going to be coordinated with each utility. They're going to be on interior walls inside the parking where there is proper and necessary access in front of them. We may have a transformer which lands at the end of the fire lane, which is all the way towards the back and would be screened with bushes. The water meters, the other stuff is going to be, we have a water room set aside in the basement so that a lot of the utilities in terms of water and fire will be inside the building and not seen.
And then my other comment was, do you have a colored rendering of the new South Avenue rendering, the architectural changes? I know you showed us a colored picture of first, but I'd be interested to just see what the building actually looks like now that you took 4 weeks and came back with a revised look.
Now?
Yes.
Hey, Rob, I think the mayor asked, okay, we're going to share something. Okay, so this is going to be A17. Got to give it a name.
A17 is noted as Soho Western Perspective, dated today. This is new, looking from South Avenue, and you can see on the first Beach Street perspective, to be clear, we did vary the tower elements so that we have a clip and a gable, and we've done the same thing here. So you can see as we travel down this western facade, we've carried that architecture, that change around as we have along South Avenue, and this is that new, again, pretty attractive clipped end. So Mayor, hopefully this is the view you were looking for.
Yes. Yeah. Yes. And so as far as the materials go, is it like a gray brick on the first floor? Is that what I'm looking at?
Yes.
It's a gray, so it's a gray brick, black awnings, black windows, you know, the trim of the windows, and then the second and third floors are two-tone gray?
Yeah, so we've definitely taken a approach to the gray tones, blacks and whites. So it's a gray brick on the bottom, as you correctly stated, a black railing, a black window frame, and then we're using a hardy plank siding in a, I believe it's iron spot gray, as well as, I don't remember the name of the other gray.
It's fine.
The roof is an architectural pewter. The color is pewter slate, and colors are very much representative. Not exact, obviously. I do have.
Sure. No, I get the thing. Okay. That's all the questions I have. Thank you.
Okay.
Can I ask just to clarify a point? Was that exhibit not offered last time as A10?
So A10 last time was that very same view with that same clip, but I don't believe A10 had the towers with the little clipped ends. So we actually took all the board's comments and my submitted architecturals carry that architecture, carry this clip, carry the whole thing through. That's just to, dot the I to make sure that.
Okay, so this is a modified A10.
Yeah.
Thank you.
It was as revised today, so.
Yeah.
All right. Okay. Mr. Boris, you're up.
No questions.
Okay. Mr. Matty, you would be up next.
Thank you, Matt. I guess it's a question, but more of a curiosity, let's say. Then I have a question for the architect, Mr. Larson. I know obviously how we established the height of the 49 feet. I know how it's calculated. I understand that the towers are exempt. But from grade to the top of the tower, let's take corner of South Avenue and First Street. What is the overall building height?
Okay, just to be clear, I want to make sure I answer your question correctly. So on the corner of First and South, when you say the overall building height, you mean from grade to the peak of the roof?
It could be, yeah, from grade to the peak of the roof. You can give me to the top of the gambrel, just out of curiosity. I know it's not how it's calculated, but I'd like to just know what the overall height of the building is.
And I had taken some notes on this, so to be clear. It's about, so from the grade at the corner of South and First, it's about 57 feet to the peak, which is not even really in line with that further back, but just for reference. To the top of the tower, to the peak of the tower is about 55 feet. As we come up, obviously it gets higher as we proceed down South Avenue, and as we come up First, again,
Yeah, you got about 49 feet to where you measured to, it looks like the midpoint. Then you got the duplex is about 8, so that's about 57. And then you got a few more feet to the top. So,
well, if you want to refer to the mean line, it's about 11.5 feet. So we had actually looked at the elite building's peak. We had looked at our own peak and found that the peak of this building, as it relates to that, is about 61 total. I know, that's a very relative distance because it's the peak of a roof that's 35 feet away. And there's a reason why ordinances are written to go to the mean of the slope.
yeah, no. And again, I understand how it's calculated and how we established the overall height for the variance. I just, out of curiosity, just the overall size, just to get an idea of what it was. Just wanted to know what that calculation was.
Understood. I hope I answered your question.
You did. Thank you. No more questions, Matt. Thank you.
Okay. Mr. Sherry, you would be up.
It's just one question, a couple questions, but for Mr. Chanel, when you were talking about that, I guess it was a knee wall, heightening the knee wall on the access road back there. Was that facing the residential side or the building side?
So I will just share my exhibit again real quick, A13, so you can see what I'm talking about. So it'll be built into the building. So it's essentially the wall of the building. So originally this area by where the 5 is in front of that was essentially at grade. But now we'll be building up a wall. It's essentially a knee wall, and it'll just blend into the building architecture and block any headlights.
Okay. So what does that do in terms of drainage? How is water in that area being captured so it doesn't run to the residential and it's properly goes in a storm?
So absolutely, there's no impact to the residential on the side. We're actually improving the drainage conditions where currently some of the parking lot does run towards the residence.
Okay.
But in this case, we are regrading it in almost like a swale form where the stormwater in this access area is going to run down in a westerly direction and be collected within this inlet in the back portion of the building there. And
Okay.
anything inside the parking lot will flow towards the ramp, and there will be internal drainage to essentially collect that water and again connect it to the drainage system associated with the site.
Okay, thank you. And then one quick question for Mr. Larson. Mr. Larson, I think it might have been answered before, will you provide a kind of a color and a palette of finishes for the exterior? Will that be part of one of your drawings, or have you submitted that?
I actually, we had called them out, and I think we would, again, I'm not sure if it can be a condition, and I'm standing up because here in my presence are,
Yep, you have the
example, and I'm trying to find you. I don't see you, but we have the Atlas roofing, the metal roof for the standing seam. We have chosen a hardy plank, so I believe my client would be happy to share the palette of the exact materials that we intend to use.
And that might be a typical condition if the board's so inclined to approve to designate somebody for a discussion about the final selection of materials.
Yeah, no, typically we see that with the color and the finish, from as part of the presentation. So, okay, that's it, Chairman.
Sorry.
Just making sure. Okay, I believe Councilman Carter, you are next.
Good evening, thank you. So I'm going to reserve the full part of the commentary until our residents have had a chance to chime in. I'd like to commend you guys for the effort you put in again and listening to the residents, listening to the board, listening to our professionals, and seeking to incorporating all of these concerns. And looks like you've done a really good job with that. The only, I don't know if we want to call it somewhat of a concern, just going back to what the mayor mentioned about the utility meters. On the First Street side, you don't have really a place where you can put them on the front of the building anyway, on the exterior. If you move to the interior of the First Street side, then you're going to be into parking spaces. So you're definitely going to be into parking spaces. So the alternative, it appears to be not on the rear, but almost on the Martine Avenue side. If you have to move them to the exterior of the building on the Martine Avenue side with some kind of buffers there, but on the First Street side, you don't have a location where those meters can be installed. Just say the electric and gas meters can be installed. So there needs to be something addressing that, certainly.
I think that, as we develop the architectural drawings, we can agree now that there will be no meters on the fire lane or on the First Street side. I see some opportunity maybe by that stairwell. There's a little bit of space by the stairwell and the drive aisle. There's also some space against the back of the retail and the small portion of wall at the end of the parking space is adjacent to the retail. But Councilman, this is something that comes up often and actually is further developed in terms of, and I'm quite sure the utility company is going to come out. I'm going to work on the structure and the mechanicals of this building, and we're going to have some richness to this conversation. So if it helps to answer the question, we would definitely agree that there would be no meters on First or on the fire lane.
Okay, fair enough. I'll reserve further comments when the residents have had an opportunity to weigh in. Thank you very much. I appreciate you guys.
Okay, I believe that is all of our board members. So now I'm going to start it off same as last time. If you're new to this, I will call out the names. I will probably half the time be calling out people who are part of the application. You can just let me know, Mr. Solonak, if I've got somebody who's on your side of the application. Ask your questions after getting the questions answered. This is also your time as the public to give some brief commentary if you do have commentary for this application. All right, so I am going to I'm gonna start with Yannick Salazar Tracy. Diane, I know she's sworn in
Open the
previous.
meeting up, Matt.
Sorry?
You need to open the meeting up to the public.
Oh, Jesus, thank you.
Like,
Can I
I'd
get
like
a
to make a motion
motion
to open the meeting to the public.
So moved.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right, so Diane, ones who have already been sworn in, do they need to be sworn in again, or, okay, so.
Just specifically if you've been sworn in before, just a reminder that you will remain under oath for any questions or commentary that you're going to provide.
Yep. So Yannick Salazar Tracy, I know you've been sworn in before, so you're still under oath. The floor is yours.
Just to quickly confirm that this is just question comment, not our full testimony, or
This is your last chance.
Our last chance. Oh, fantastic! Very
Yes,
glad
that is, I'm glad you clarified that. This is
Okay.
this is the last chance that this meeting will be open to the public.
All right, fantastic. Thank you so much. My first is just due to what Mr. Skolnick had brought up before. Quick question regarding the UPS deliveries. Is this something that was also done empirically, or is there a formal study of delivery trucks in that vein and how much time they take up on the sidewalk when they deliver? Is that something that I can look up?
We did not perform any formal studies. I'm not aware of anything being out there. I guess it just depends on how many deliveries they have to particularly make to that apartment building for that particular day. However, as I mentioned, when we were out at the site with PSE&G, UPS did show up and they stopped right on First Ave, right in that space between the parking spaces. They ran in, dropped off their packages, and yeah, it was about 3 minutes to drop off. It was about a handful of packages, but you have an office there, and not a residential use. So to answer your question, no, there was not a formal study.
Okay, because I wanted to quickly comment. I wasn't sure if this was 3 minutes total or 3 minutes because the houses are spread out, as I'm sure you saw. Really quickly, I grew up in a condo in the 1990s where even the standard size UPS truck came once a day with one guy. And I would say that it took more than 3 minutes to unload something for a 50+ unit building. So I just wanted to find out if this was a total or per package, if it applied. But okay, so there's no formal study. So Mr. Larson, I wanted to state that the creation of this building carries a lot of negative criteria. In fact, a few weeks ago, I was the unexpected audience to the parking lot repair of the PNC Bank parking lot behind me, and my office faces that parking lot. So from about mid-morning to 5 p.m. for 2 days straight, I was privy to the sound of paving as well as repaving. They had to come and finish the job. And because of all that noise, it affected my work for about 2 days worth of work because I could not conceivably speak to my clients with that noise going on behind them and having to apologize. It's extremely unprofessional in my field, and I'm sure everyone here can agree that you don't want to be apologizing to a client mid-conversation for something you have no control over. And as it stands, I am still dealing with that setback. And frankly, when it comes to noise, I really see that there's going to be very little deviation from the Soho project. My husband's been working from home since 2016 and myself from 2019. And we do expect to be here for the foreseeable future. But apparently there's a proposal that our future is going to be laden with noise coming from a demolition period, construction period, and I guess whatever finishing touches you had to put in are also gonna make a lot of noise. I'm sure you can't plant a tree quietly. So I'm looking at a 50+ unit construction. I'm looking at something that's going to be possibly like 50 times more of a hit to my income. And considering the times we're living in, I cannot afford to lose any clients, let alone apologize to them. So as my neighbors are going to make it very clear, this building will do nothing but serve as a disruption to my family and to my neighbors. I would say that what they're going to say will definitely meet the negative criteria threshold. So I strongly suggest that Landmark consider some other place to build this. This is an undesirable building, without a doubt. Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you. Next, Patel is part of your group, Mr. Shulnick, Jay Patel. Oh no, that's part of our group. Sorry.
Planner.
It's been a long
He
day.
had some role in the case.
Mr. Machiak. Sorry if I got that wrong. Just reminding you, you're still under oath.
Yes, paycheck. And just a few quick questions before I kind of go into just my assessment and my commentary. Just with regard to the the 2 move-ins a month, I mean, just to be clear, that's after the 58 people move in, right? So after the 58 people move into this building, we're talking about 2 move-ins and 2 move-outs a month. Is that a fair assessment?
That's
People
based on the
people will be moving in, yes, over time period and an absorption over a certain number of months. That is correct, sir.
Okay, because all these units are proposed to come online at the same time, right?
I don't know the answer to that.
Okay, I wish you did.
I'm sure they're going to try to. I'm sure they're
Assuming
going to try to
we're
bring them
talking
on.
we're talking about 58 people moving in over the course of a week or a month.
Density is in accord with the ordinance. We do not have any variances for the number of units.
Well, I'm not asking about if there's variances for the units. I'm just talking about in the real world, there's going to be 58 moving trucks on the street over the course of a month when this building opens.
I'm not arguing. I would tend to doubt that they would fill up in 1 month.
Well, ideally, if Landmark has their way and they put all these units on the market, they're all going to get rented, right?
I don't know that there's any way to know how long, but you are certainly correct. And I think Mr. Skolnick has acknowledged you're correct. 58 people move in and then their analysis kicks in.
Okay, with regard to the blocking of one of the entrances for larger size trucks, my understanding was the ingress was going to go on one side of the ingress was on one side and the egress was on the other. Is that correct?
No, full movement driveways.
All right, so both entrances are 2-way.
Correct.
So there won't be any blockage of residents getting into their parking in the basement or retail getting into their parking spaces while there's a moving truck parking in front of one of those.
No, either driveway provides full access throughout the entire parking facility.
Okay, and with regard to the burying of the PSE and G lines, is that for the entire length of First Street?
No, and our understanding is still that burying probably not possible. We're talking about relocating to provide access, even more access for the fire department to fight the fire from First Street rather than having to solely utilize the access to the rear.
So the burying of the power lines is off the table, most likely off the table.
We'll continue to work with PSE&G. We would love to put them under, but yeah, it's ultimately their call. They're coordinating very well with us. They're meeting as much as they can with us to begin to really sort this out.
My concern is that if they opt to bury the lines up through the whole length of First Street, that they're either ripping up the street or they're ripping up my front yard. So just curious to see really how that's going to be handled if they go that route. But anyway, those are really my only questions pertaining to what was offered today. So I'm just going to go into commentary. My wife and I moved here from Hoboken about 15 years ago, and we largely moved here because we wanted a house. We wanted a house in the suburbs. We were trying to get away from high density housing, and I think we had the misfortune of moving into an area that abuts so much zoning for the level of construction that is being proposed here today. My issue with the zoning, and I knew the zoning was there when I moved in, is my understanding of the zoning is it's supposed to set some some parameters about what the limitations are, but I don't know that it's supposed to enable developers to push right to the absolute limit of what those limits are of the zoning. And it seems to be that what we're passing judgment on here today is something that presses the absolute boundaries of what's permissible, not necessarily what's appropriate. But anyway, my wife and I moved here 15 years ago, and it's disappointing to see that, Fanwood seems to be just in love with this idea of turning itself into a suburban version of Hoboken, which is what we left. But for those of you that don't know me, most of you don't, I'm the guy that's driving around in the red Vespa that you may have seen zipping all over town. So I want to dip into a letter that I submitted to the planning board a couple of months ago. So I'm going to just dip into that, dip out a little bit, and then I'll probably be done. And I'm a little disappointed that I haven't seen more of my neighbors on this meeting today. But in talking to them, one of our primary concerns is that the project is just outrageously oversized for the lot. And we're not contesting the zoning or the developer's right to build on private property, only that the scale of the project be reduced to be more in line with similar projects that have recently been completed in town. One of which was alluded to today, it's Font Plaza. It's the artistic rendering that was done from the bird's eye view conveniently was showing kind of the edge of that building. Well, that building is directly across the street from the proposed Soho project. And that was built in the same zoning, and that was built as 12 units above first floor retail. And that project was conceived and built during a very mature real estate boom and assumed luxury condos in Fanwood would sell quickly, and they did. Not one of them sold. And one of my concerns is, had the Chelsea not folded that building into its business, it's unknown what would have become of Font Plaza. That's the name of that building. So now we're here 15 years later, and we're building apartments, most of which are like market rate, which means $2,000 to $3,000 a month above retail that there's a shrinking demand for. The developer has notified the public with the bare minimum of legal notice, I might add, and they intend to build 62 units on a lot that's roughly the same size as the one that Font Plaza was built on. And while Landmark has recently trimmed that down to 58 units, that's still roughly 5 times the number of units that are across the street. And I just don't know how Landmark, with a straight face, can suggest that this will benefit the residents of First Street or the town in general. And with regard to the overall scale, I don't know if you've all read the Environmental Commission. Fanwood's own Environmental Commission had this to say, and this is a direct quote. Obviously, this project is too intense given the site, and don't let them tell anyone otherwise. Unlike the gigantic building on the corner of Martin and South, which is surrounded by commercial properties, this project abuts and overwhelms the residential neighborhood. That's a direct quote from the Fanwood Environmental Commission. And I asked all the members on the planning board to review the complete EC report, take it to heart when they're making their judgment here. And I just don't know how Landmark proposes to build on this scale. I mean, they've asked for a bunch of variances to let them just maximize their footprint on this lot. And they're obviously trying to squeeze every last penny out of what they can get out of this lot. And it's completely inappropriate for the zone, considering that it abuts residential. And regardless of the zoning and the property's rights to build here, I'm just asking to give some thought to the real world impact that a project of this scale is going to have on our ability to enjoy our own properties. And, I've outlined some specific concerns, some of which I went into last time we had a meeting. So I'm not gonna belabor some of the stuff we've already talked about, but I mean, the underground garage is a concern only because of the groundwater issue. I know that the engineers have done a study on the stormwater runoff, but I still personally have concerns about how this underground garage is going to impact groundwater and how it moves around that garage, and whether that's going to have an impact on the neighboring properties. And I don't know that that's been addressed. I doubt it will be addressed. And I just hope that, a month or two after this garage is put in place, we don't all have flooded basements. But I guess we just have to keep our fingers crossed, because I don't know that anybody's going to look into that. I think we've kind of covered how the trash is going to be removed, and I think that's going to be really kind of cool and sci-fi if it really works out. But again, you know, I can only take you at your word that this is going to have a minimal impact, and we're not going to have bins that are sitting on First Street just rolling around, because that property is kind of at a peak. It slopes one way towards South Avenue, the other way towards the Grand. And if we're talking about bins on rollers that aren't secured after they're disposed of, there's a potential for them to be moving around on the street. And yeah, the thing that we also avoided today is the fire lane. We didn't really talk too much about that. We didn't really get into the artistic renderings on how that's a soccer field or it's a fire lane. You know, it gets back to this idea of, like, you know, we're being presented with these sort of artistic renderings of this beautiful building, and, like, you know, why wouldn't we fall in love with it? Look at these kids playing soccer, but that's actually a fire lane. So, you know, that there just seems to be a disconnect between the reality of what we're talking about and, you know, picking out the facades and the fixtures and the hardy board and the stacked stone and all that stuff. And probably the biggest concern for people on the block, beyond the overall size, is just the parking and the traffic. I mean, I think anybody that lives on the street would laugh at the parking and traffic study that was being done, because I don't think it really portrays accurately, like, what the situation here is on the street. And, you know, I'm amused at the people that perform these studies. They never talk to the people that live on the block. They just, you know, they count a couple of cars and they say, yeah, you're good to go. But, you know, again, they're disconnected from reality. And, you know, the idea that, you know, Landmark is trying to suggest that the number of parking spaces they need is justified by the fact that, well, not as many people rely on cars these days, you know, because people are using mass transit and, you know, they're using Uber and things like that. I mean, I used to, before COVID, I commuted into New York 5 days a week. And my wife and we share 2 cars, a motorcycle, and the aforementioned Vespa, and that's just the 2 of us. This project will cause parking gridlock on First Street, a street that already gets more than its fair share of people parking for local businesses and commuting. There are times of the day that First Street is already packed with cars, particularly on Fridays. Overflow from parking from Soho will invariably use First Street, which has a 2-hour limit during the week that never gets enforced. In the real world, a couple paying $3,000 a month for a market rate 1 or 2 bedroom apartment will more likely have 2 cars than 0 cars. I mean, the whole metric of 1.5 cars per unit isn't even enough parking when you take into account that people living in a 58-unit building have guests, and those guests aren't taking mass transit to visit people in this building, and they're going to pick the parking spaces that are most convenient to this building, which is going to be all over First Street and the surrounding streets. So I don't know. I mean, and the nature of the traffic, you know, we have a residential street with people that routinely park on both sides. It's 25 miles an hour, but we have people that use this street as a cutoff because they're not patient enough to go up to the light at Martine and South. So they make a right on LeGrand and they barrel down First Street, and then they make a right onto South Avenue. I watch it all day, every day. I watch it 50 times a day. And these cars are all moving a lot faster than 25 miles an hour. You know, this is a street without sidewalks. So pedestrian traffic, of which I'm one, and people walking, you know, pushing strollers, having babies, you know, these cars are flying past in both directions. And, you know, if this project goes ahead, and I'm looking at these meetings, I know this is going to get voted on. It's most likely going to get approved. But we need to talk about, at the very least, we need to talk about doing something about slowing traffic down on the street. If that involves speed bumps, or, you know, just anything that's going to slow traffic down. We need to also talk about maybe making the existing parking in front of these houses permit parking only. And we also need to stop using First Street every time Fanwood Day happens or a downtown street festival. All the traffic gets diverted down First Street. It's literally a parking lot. And all that traffic that goes down these county roads, buses, trucks, and massive number of cars. They're all diverted down First Street. You literally can't move. You can't leave your own house when that's happening. So these are all things that the town is going to have to consider if they approve this, because you're just exacerbating that problem. So there's going to have to be discussion about what to do about traffic and parking on the street, assuming this project gets approved on any level. And I'm assuming it is at this point, because my impression, having sat through all these planning board meetings for the last 3 or 4 months, is that I think a lot of people are just, they're already leapfrogging into picking out the facades. And I'm really disappointed that there wasn't more commentary about the impact, the real world impact that's going to happen on the street, because it's not going to stop with Soho, you know, at Fanwood Station when somebody gets the bright idea to build apartments in the parking lot behind my house, and it's zoned for whatever, you know, the zoning is for Soho. So let's call it 45 feet. Although in Soho's case, it's 60 feet, but we're calling it 45 feet. So when that gets put up in my parking lot in the backyard, that basically casts a shadow over my house. So, you know, I'm not a person that's anti-development. I was in support of everything Elite did. I think they made a very smart choice by building the last phase of the Elite building, being fairly modestly sized. It had parking underneath, not retail. And, you know, we live in a world where the demand for retail is being destroyed. It was being destroyed before COVID, and now it's being exacerbated by COVID. And the idea, with all due respect to Ms. Jeffrey, is that this is not a thriving downtown. This is a town that is playing whack-a-mole, trying to keep tenants in this retail space. And the building that's going to get torn down actually houses my my accountant, who won't be renting space in the new building. I'm going to have to find another accountant now. So this is the side effect of what we're talking about, is we're going to displace a bunch of small business owners that already work out of that building. None of them are going to come back to Fanwood. I mean, I can't say that with all assurances, but I'm assuming that most aren't. And we're just going to hope that people are going to line up to rent retail space at the top level of what they can charge. I mean, look at what's happened near where Edward Jones is. I do business at Edward Jones, but look at the testing center. That's out of business. There was a craft store that opened there that's out of business. It didn't last very long. The cafe would be out of business if it wasn't being subsidized. And then we have the bath fixture place, which I never see anybody in. So I don't know. In summation, I just think the planning board needs to take into account that, you know, the zoning is there to basically establish some guidelines. And, you know, if they had submitted a plan that maybe didn't have duplexes on the top floor and maybe had 30 units instead of 58, they wouldn't even need to ask for variances. They could very neatly and artistically, it would give them more range to do something more artistic. But they're obviously trying to squeeze as much out of the slot that they can get away with. So, I mean, I would love for the planning board to actually push back a little bit, but my guess is you probably won't. So I'll just say this in conclusion. I've lived behind the PNC Bank for as long as I've lived in Fanwood. And the entire time I've lived here, I've struggled with getting them to maintain the fence line, which they're obligated to maintain, the tree line, which they're obligated to maintain, and it's all in disrepair. You know, I fought after 2 years of wrangling with them. I had to give some of my own money to getting trees planted. They planted 11 arborvitaes, 4 of which are surviving. The rest have all died.
Try to keep it to this episode.
I'm almost done, thanks.
Okay.
And so this is a snapshot of what it's like to live next to a commercial zone, where the town doesn't get involved in making sure that the developers or the corporate entity takes care of the residents. And I've been struggling with this as long as I've lived in Fanwood. So, and I actually reached out to Mr. Sullivan after the last meeting, and emailed him my concerns about the fence line behind my house, and that went, I got no response to that. So that's pretty much all I have to say. I mean, I think we're opening Pandora's box with overdevelopment in Fanwood, and I think if this is a snapshot of where it's all going, clearly I'm going to get surrounded by apartments, and I should probably be looking to sell my house because the value is just plummeting with all this stuff going on. So thankfully, I'm in a position where I can afford to do that, but there's some people that aren't. So that's it. I just hope that you guys take some of this to heart when you decide to just greenlight this or push back a little bit. I'd like to see you push back. That's all I got.
Okay. Okay, moving on. Alice Maycheck. You're also still under oath. Do you have any comments or questions?
Well, I think my husband and Warren pretty much covered most of it. But as a resident of First Street for over 15 years, I really don't think that this development is really going to improve the lives of myself or any of my neighbors.
We're having a hard time hearing you with your connection, or at least I am. I don't know if others are.
Yes, it's distorted.
Yeah. Sorry, I didn't mean to.
Sorry.
Okay.
Maybe, can I suggest we go
We'll
on
come-
to the next and you can
We'll
come back?
We'll give you another chance before we close it out to the public. I see an iPhone XS.
He's with us.
Okay, thank you. Michael Goatley's with you guys also?
Yes.
Yes, okay, and Matt also, if I
Yep.
remember? Yep. Yeah. Jake Harvitt.
He's with the applicant team.
Oh, okay, I didn't recognize his name from before. Gary Morris? Gary Morris, if you have any comments,
Yeah.
questions or comments, yeah.
Can you hear me?
Yep, we hear you.
Great. Just a couple things. I always say it's a couple things and it's more than that, so I shouldn't lie because I'm under oath. One thing I just want to clarify with I believe the architect, he keeps saying that they lowered the rear corner by 1 floor. I believe it actually was lowered by half a floor. It's still 4 stories in that corner. So I just want to clarify that. I think he keeps saying they lowered it 1 story. It's still 4 stories. I can count them. They're 4 stories. And so that's one thing. The other thing, the width of the fire lane. I know they said that they were going to plant some, I think, is it skyrocket junipers? Was that what they were going to plant there?
That's what's currently proposed, correct?
Okay, so how wide is a juniper?
They're specifically, that species was specifically selected because of how narrow it is. They're about 1.5 feet to 2 feet in width.
Okay, so if it's 2 feet, doesn't that cut into the 23-foot wide lane?
Essentially, yeah, it could, but you have to keep in mind that that 1.5 feet, 2 feet would essentially, though I doubt it would be obstruct the fire truck, it would be an area where the outriggers would come up from the truck. And in an emergency situation, if the fire truck needs to put its outriggers out, a juniper's not going to stop them.
Yeah, and just as a side note, I was Googling it today. It's actually a really flammable tree. So it's something to keep in mind. They actually recommend in the Nevada area not to have these things near your house because they're so flammable because of the fires and everything. So it's really kind of dangerous that those will be 8 feet from this lady's house. Secondly, what's going on where the gazebo was?
Currently just reserved for an amenity space.
Is there any possibility you could extend the fire lane into that area?
We potentially will have to place the transformer there as we continue to work with PSE&G to locate our equipment for the building, which would be buffered in that case with additional landscaping. But essentially, yeah, it could continue to act as a fire lane. I mean, the truck wouldn't have to get all the way down to the end like that. It would be able to extend its ladder out in the event of emergency to access that portion of the building. But yeah, if nothing's gone there, that would be an area that would be capable of supporting the truck as well.
And again, I brought this up the last time. According to the International Fire Code, you're supposed to have a fire lane that goes the full width of the building. So by putting anything in the way, it's no longer going the full width of the building. So I'm not really sure how we don't want to comply with the International Fire Code. And the International Fire Code also recommends for aerial ladder trucks to be 26 feet wide and to also have the lane located 15 feet from the building, a minimum of 15 feet, so they can angle the ladder properly. Again, these are just simple safety concerns that I think we just need to look at. And again, there's not a single 4.5-story building in town that I'm aware of. Why do we have to try to set a record here in an area where you're not even supposed to have a 4-story building? I think regarding the zone maybe 5 years ago was a 3-story zone. Now it's 3.5-story. Now you want to take it to 4.5 stories, which means when China Moon and those businesses leave, it's going to look weird if they don't build a skyscraper there. And I just think at some point, you know, sure, it might look pretty good going from a 3-story to a 4.5-story. Why not just do a 3-story to a 3.5-story? Like why the 4.5-story size building? It's so oversized for that. It's, you know, when you look at Station Square, how many units are there? What is it, 35 units there in a much bigger lot? It doesn't make sense. And there's amenities in Station Square. My mom happens to live there, so I actually overlook Station Square, and there's a lot of movement there, people walking around and between the buildings and everything like that, kids going outside. What are they going to do at this place? They're going to try to walk to the park with no sidewalks, and you know, it's really it's going to be a problem. Even the simple thing of where are people going to be smoking? You know, are they going to go into the amenity space to smoke, and you know, you have 10 people smoking? I mean, little things like that. You know, when it comes to garbage collection, currently the garbage collection, I just saw the guy literally on Monday, 5:30 in the morning. He's breaking the law again, despite me complaining to the town many times. It used to be 4:30, so getting him to 5:30 is better, but they're not supposed to be doing garbage at 6 o'clock in the morning. And they actually go down the street that they don't go all the way down South Avenue. They go down the street right across the street from my house that says a 4-ton limit. The trucks are not supposed to be doing that, and yet they do constantly, breaking the law. And this is what happens because there's so many garbage pickups and everything like that. At some point, you hit a saturation point. And again, I know there's a lot of talk that there's no negative aspect. Okay, I think there is a negative aspect in that there's going to be a number of people on that street, and even some people in the Chelsea assisted living, that will no longer see a sunset. I think you can't put a price on that. They have a good view of the sun going down where they're at now. That's going to be lost now because they have a giant building in the way. And again, those are the kind of things. And I just implore everybody who's on the planning board, would you be okay with this building being put in 8 feet or 8 feet from your property line, or 23 feet plus the 8 feet? So it's literally 31 feet from building to building. It's just really close. It's really close. And I just out of curiosity, what is the distance between the building on the China Moon building and this building? What's the distance between those two? Did somebody look that up?
Is that even something we know? And
We'll try to
About
find that
30 feet.
information for you, sir.
About 30
Okay.
feet.
What's that?
About 30 feet.
Okay, so it's 30 feet, and that's from a business to a business. You're talking about a business, or not a business, but a you know, an apartment building to somebody's literal home. I mean, again, you have to see what it looks like from a 4-story window looking down to understand the lack of privacy that these people are going to have to endure. It's not right. And I think by scaling it back, putting greater distance between, I think makes it reasonable for everybody and will be much more amenable to everybody involved. I just think it's just too big. And that's basically it. And like I said, there's a lot of glossing things over by saying something was lowered 1 story when it was lowered half a story. That's under oath, and that's, I believe, is not correct. And so it should be corrected that it's actually lowered half a story. That's it.
Thank you. Who's next, Matt?
Sorry, I'm muted. I was talking. Ruby Nagai, I may be messing up the name. I don't think if you have testimony, I don't recognize the name, so they'll need to be sworn in.
No comment. I'm just here to observe for a class.
Oh, okay. Lisa Santa Maria. Also, I don't know that I've seen the name before, so
No.
For the next application.
No, we're waiting for the resolution on our driveway.
Oh, okay. Sorry, I didn't realize that.
Wow.
No problem.
That's a long wait.
Well, sorry. I'm really sorry. I didn't know you were waiting for that. Okay.
No problem.
Jeff Wineflash.
He's with the applicant team.
Wait, the applicant. And finally, I have one last iPhone. It's not the iPhone XS. It's just an iPhone.
I think that's our traffic expert who is available just in case.
Okay. So
I believe, I'm not certain, Chairman. I don't want to.
Well,
It's the iPhone XS.
This is Joe Steiger. I'm XS.
He's the XS.
I don't want to cut anybody off.
Well, they haven't unmuted, so they're not comments.
So finally, I believe that Mrs. Mychek had gone to where her husband was. Did you still have any commentary or
Adopt your husband's commentary.
adopt your husband's commentary? Hearing nothing, I'll assume that she's
Nothing, no comment.
Okay, all right. Thank you, Ms. Mychek. All right, I believe I've covered all of the public. So can I get a motion to close it to the public?
I'd like to make a motion to close the meeting to the public.
Second, anyone? Anyone?
Second.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Second.
Aye.
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 Meeting is closed to the public. Do we do our, Diane, sorry, I'm having a hard time now. Do we do our commentary and then have them do their closing statements?
No, generally we can have Mr. Skolnick make his closing comment, and then we make our commentary
Internal-
and
yeah.
vote.
Okay, so Mr. Skolniak, the floor is yours.
Skolnick, thank you.
Skolnick, sorry.
Chairman, very brief. We appreciate your time. We have made tremendous efforts to work with your professionals. You can see the level of care we put into responding to the concerns. At the end, 45 feet is permitted here, and we're going to make the suggestion that while there is some relief, it's relatively modest, given what the governing body has planned for this site. There's no density variance, so the total number of units is permitted. The 45 feet is permitted. We're above that on South, but not on First. The remaining relief is not material in our view. The parking, we believe, given its location, is adequate, and we think the overall project makes sense. It's appropriate. It's consistent with the goals of the municipality. Importantly, we're producing 9 units of affordable housing. The lives of 9 families that will live in this project will be absolutely transformed with incredible first-class housing. And my clients look forward to continuing their relationship with Fanwood and in Fanwood. We thank you for your time.
Thank you. All right, so I'm going to start and then I'm going to keep mine very brief. more just something that Mr. Maciek, and sorry if I'm saying people's names wrong, I'm getting bad at it now, sort of raised was getting away from the house, but to the street is, as a town, if there is something we can do, even regardless of this project, to keep where people speed on and keep that respect of people's streets, if we can do something for the permitting, parking and stuff. I don't know how easy that is, but I think that's something we should definitely put on our agenda to look at. And I also think the Fanwood Day thing, we should keep conscious of how that traffic pattern does impact those things when we do close streets and such like that. I know I'm on North, and whenever anything happens on Midway, our street becomes a parking lot. And you go on Facebook to find out what's happening. Really, that's where I'm going to leave my comments for now. And I'll go through the board members for your time for comments. Michelle.
I comment later.
Okay, we'll circle back. Mr. Molinar, and I'm sure there's going to be some going back and forth a little bit with this. This is definitely a hard one to just give your comments and step away from.
I think this project does meet what is in our master plan and is consistent with what we want in this commercial corridor along South Avenue. So I think this is a good project. Thanks.
Okay. Ms. Seefeld?
So I am pleased to see that a number of the changes that we've asked for throughout this entire process, because I think this is like our 4th or 5th meeting. Sorry, I kind of lost count, have been addressed. And I think that the professionals really worked to hear some of those things as they came up in the previous meetings and try to meet the expectations that were in those discussions for the next meeting. So I appreciate that we've had this ongoing exchange in this one and that we've heard things, but I do feel like they have met the questions that have been raised in an adequate fashion. And I think this is a quality project for Fanwood. Thanks.
Ms. Hamill? I got to not mute myself.
I don't think I have anything else to add beyond what others have said so far.
Okay, thanks. Mayor Marr?
Hi, good evening. And I have listened, like all the board members have, to this project from the very beginning. And what maybe the neighbors don't realize is that there is significant conversations that go on before we even get a developer even gets to the planning board, with meeting our professionals, with sitting down and going through a project of this size. So a lot of time and energy does go into making sure that a first-class project does show up that will benefit the town. So for the board and our professionals, applicants have worked to address a lot of the concerns to improve the project from when it first started. I do feel that the variances are fairly minor, particularly the retail height of the first floor, the parking space size. I look at this as a significant investment by a committed developer that has been in Fanwood, that will bring a unique housing opportunity to our downtown, while maybe some of the neighbors don't see the benefits of the investment or feel them, or feel that the town maybe is eroded or does not see the downtown in a positive light. I would say that many do. And that when we look at our retail, it is the few and not the many that have struggled. And where the few have struggled, we have seen people come in and make big investments. We do keep an eye on our market, our business market. We have a very close touch with our business community. So we are not out of touch with what is going on, the investments that are being made, the foot traffic. And we try very hard to encourage our local community to support them. And yes, these are very unusual and difficult and very trying times with COVID and what it is doing to our business community. We do have the ability to keep an eye on traffic. We do have an ability to watch the parking and loading and unloading. We do have the ability to restrict loading and unloading during certain hours on First Street, which we have a right to do, which we will be looking at. We do have the right to look at how traffic is diverted and how speeding is occurring as well. That's my comments for right now. Thank you.
Thanks. Mr. Boris?
Oh, sorry, I had to
There
unmute
you go, you
myself.
found it.
Yep, I got it. I do think that the applicant has addressed many of the concerns that the board had, and so I would like to say that and make that comment. And then also, I do believe that much of the relief that the applicant is seeking very much fits in with what, or not fits in with, I'm not saying that's quite correctly, is, as Mr. Skolnick stated, is somewhat minor as compared to, what the governing body has envisioned for this zone. So taking all that into account, I think this is a good project. So that's all I have.
Thank you. Mr. Maddie?
Thank you. I think I echo the other board members as, you guys, it's sentiments and comments. I think I agree with you about the traffic and the parking. Maybe there's something that we can do in the future to, give First Street relief on some of those areas. I think the design professionals listened and took into account all our comments with their revisions. I think aesthetically, it looks like a good project. It looks nice. I heard someone in the public mention about noise, and that's just an unfortunate thing that happens with any construction. So whether this was a variance application or not, demo is going to occur, construction is going to happen, whether it's 3.5 stories, 4.5 stories, or whatever it may be. And that's just unfortunate. But I think it does agree with our master plan, and it is a good project, for Fanwood. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Sherry?
Okay, so my I guess first is thank you to the Landmark group and all the professionals that are working on this project. You've been very mindful, you've been very thoughtful, and I think you've taken to heart what we've concerned and voiced on these series of meetings. I think just based upon the design and the overall intent, I think it's a great project. But also, I know from just from the line of business work I do, as well as articles reading, the most successful developments generally are beyond the metes and bounds of the property itself, are also how it engages with the community around it. And I would like to challenge, while I can't codify this in our resolution, I think it's every effort to really outreach and inclusion to the people on First Street, that community, whether during the construction process, up until the open house, the ability to listen to their issues, redress and minimize the disruption of deliveries and service vehicles and the move in, move out. I think here's a unique opportunity between the board, the community, the public, and this developer to really let's do something that really makes it a successful endeavor and really makes makes it work. So I don't want to pick a winner and loser in this. I think we all are gaining out of this. It's just a matter of really Landmark making an effort to really, I think you've listened. Now it's really making, putting into motion, making part of this development. So that's it. Thank you.
Well said, Dennis. And I think it brings you to Councilman Carter.
Thank you. So as the council, Fanwood Borough Council representative on the planning board, I really do listen intently to what our neighbors and residents have to say, whether they voted for me or not. And the Borough Council is in a pretty strong position here, as the mayor stated, to make certain adjustments, not to the building structure or in a planning board mechanism, but to what we would consider quality of life, if you like to go that far. Limit streets, limit the amount of time you can unload, load and unload. We're looking at the speed of traffic has been happening throughout the borough and in other municipalities as a whole. And with kids being out of school and all the different hours now, there's even more concern. If you chime into some of our council meetings, you'll hear that residents have been voicing concern about that. And also being on the public safety chair, we've redoubled our efforts in many of the areas in the municipality to curb that. So just know that we're looking into that. And if you would like to take the time, any of our residents, and chime into our council meetings, they've been by Zoom, so it's been a little easier to attend. And for the foreseeable future, they'll also be by Zoom, so you can chime in with those concerns also. I mean, even as to the streets being used as cut-throughs, there's relief there that can happen through the Borough Council, through ordinance, through resolution. So just know that those type of reliefs are really in your hands and in our hands as a borough, just so you know. One of the other things with this particular project, it should be noted that the developer is not seeking any tax relief. So they're not looking for abatements. They're not looking for, any relief in that regard. So it's one of those projects that from that standpoint, it's going to be beneficial to the borough, the residents of the borough, and it allows us to, not to sound like a politician, for several years now, we've been able to pretty much hold the line on any residential, the borough portion of the taxes. We won't get into anyone else's portion, but the borough portion of the taxes, the services continue, whether it's from leaf pickup to, just the firemen riding by for Christmas. We've been able to provide those services to our residents of the borough. And this is one of the ways that we'll be able to continue to do so without having it a financial impact on all of our residents, so First Street, Martine, and the other residents of the borough. So we've pushed back, and the pushback has been in the form of discussion mostly. There have been discussions throughout the planning board meetings. There have been discussions on the side. There have been many discussions that have taken place here where we can call it pushback or we can call it working in concert, because ultimately we do want to be seen and known as a borough that will work with anyone who wants to come forward, or just about anyone who wants to come forward with the project. We'll listen. Now, whether it goes through and whether the applicants are as amenable as these applicants have been to making adjustments, to making changes, and they really have been. There are projects that we have that the client isn't, and they get pushed back and they get pushed down the line. We have some right now that are on the table that probably may not happen, and some that have not gone through in my time on the planning board. So we understand their commitment to the community also. And I implore all of our residents to dial into our council meetings, and you can voice concern about any of these quality of life issues what you're speaking about. And I echo those sentiments there. And I take it as a challenge to myself. When I hear that if you say that you're calling the police and the police aren't coming to enforce 2-hour parking, then that's an easy conversation. That's an easy conversation with our police chief. There's an easy conversation with our lieutenant. And that's something that can be addressed. Our police department, they're very thorough. They take their job seriously and with pride. And if there are instances where you say that 2-hour parking is happening and people are parking for 3, 4, 5 hours and there's no enforcement, then that's an easy fix. You can reach out to me as the chair of public safety. You can reach out to me as the police commissioner. You can reach out to me just as a councilman. And in those regards, I will be able to address those issues. So the developer, again, they've taken great length and they really have put in the time. They listen, they've made adjustments, and it looks like a really good project. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman Carter. Diane, so that, unless anybody has any final commentary, that really concludes, we made it.
You have
Believe it or not.
Michelle, if Michelle wants to.
She already let me know that she's good.
Ah.
I didn't skip her. I was ready.
You, Michelle, I got you.
I was ready. But thank you all for sticking through this. I know this has been a long process and everybody's put in some heavy nights and stuff. Now to the meat of it, Diane, and maybe Ray can help out, I don't know. But so what would a resolution look like?
Your would have a resolution to either approve or not approve the site plan submitted, and it's the latest site plan submitted. So anytime that they've made changes, those changes are incorporated in the site plan. So the resolution would be approval of the site plan.
So that's easier than what it is sometimes. Mayor Mari, you've got.
But we also, am I unmuted? Yep.
No, we hear you.
I see. But the resolution is also where we would call out working with the professionals for the final colors, working with public service, and the borough regarding the ability to really move those lines for the fire safety, making sure that, there's no garbage, going to be allowed to pile up on this first side street. I mean, I don't have all the things in front of me, but we do have things that go into the resolution.
Certainly conditions go into the.
And I think that's what the chair was getting at.
Okay. So
maybe not.
The only conditions, the only
yes.
conditions that I had that were specific to the application, like the garbage is really more of a compliance, which is in the general language of the resolution. I had just looked back and didn't see anything other than actually the two that you mentioned. If anyone can correct me on any other condition that
Diane, I think the only other one was just a satisfaction for Councilman Carter and Mayor Marr on the utilities.
Right.
That they were not going to be visible, all the meters, gas and electric meters. So.
Right, so we can include as a condition of the resolution that no exterior utility meters will be installed on South Avenue, First Street, nor in the fire lane on the exterior of the property.
Okay.
We're going to continue to work that one. We're going to continue to work with the utilities in an attempt to resolve and to allow that there be more space on the fire lane. And then they're going to submit colors to
I think the utility was
professionals.
The utility was also working to continue to try and get the wires to go underground.
Right.
So that the fire lane wouldn't actually be.
Right. And then the colors of the hardy plank, as well as any of the other materials that are to be used on the exterior of the building.
And
Liz, did you have?
Yeah, could I just clarify on the fire lane? So the fire lane is acceptable. We're not negotiating the width of the fire lane. The only thing we are doing is pursuing with PSE&G the ability to improve the utilities on First Street, which I don't believe will entail the underground. It may entail moving a pole or two.
Yeah. If by some miracle they could go underground, there was conversation previously that fire lane could then become green space. If I remember correctly, somebody correct me if I'm wrong. We've had so many meetings, but I agree.
You remember correctly, yes.
That may not be the case, but we would like it in there that they will continue to try and get that. The utilities, we've dealt with PSE&G with various things, and they're not the easiest to deal with at times. But anyway, sorry.
Not to cast aspersions on PSE&G.
We can include all of those conditions and comments that you just made.
So another condition is the property owner to set reasonable hours for loading and unloading.
I just have one comment that I don't know if belongs in there. Was on the fire hydrant. And I think testimony was given that the fire hydrant that they're going to tap into is on Martine. Can we just make sure that works with our fire official and our fire department? Because I think that there was testimony or some statements that may not be where it should be.
We would certainly agree to coordinate the final location of the hydrants with the board's designee on that. We had also agreed that bike parking would be in the form of artwork. So if your council would designate a person where we could make those selections and coordinate, I think tonight we agreed that the final colors and materials would also
I got that one.
have a collaborative process in some form. And I think we agreed in some fashion that we would comply with the bike rack requirement. If necessary, maybe we would start with a certain number and then do an evaluation and add more if necessary.
Did we see a signage plan?
I believe we indicated we would comply. We're not seeking any relief on that.
Okay, but you didn't give us what the signage would
Logo or
look,
anything.
the look and all of that. Okay,
Dan,
so
do
that
you
needs
need
to
all-
be.
Yeah, we have to comply. We have to comply or come back on that. I don't recall, maybe, I don't recall. We'll find out and let you, and I'll let Diane know. That's okay.
So on our side, we'll set up a small, not a quorum, a couple of us to sit with Ray and meet with you guys for those things being discussed.
That's fine.
You can add me to that group.
Antonius, is there anything that needs to go in there from your point of view?
Just to address the comments in our letters, which is a standard comment.
That's in there already.
Yeah.
Yep.
And to work on an easement between the this is also one of the comments in my letter, but there's
Right.
an easement between the property owners for the drainage. And I think, again, anything else in my
Yeah.
letter.
Everything in your letter is considered.
Yep.
Okay, I think we've got a resolution.
So I like to make a motion to approve the resolution as set forth with the conditions and comments added by the borough attorney, Ms. Dabulous.
I'll second the motion.
Okay. We're ready for a vote.
Mr. Carter,
Affirm.
Mr. Boris,
Yes.
Mayor Moore,
Yes.
Mr. Jukes,
Yes.
Mr. Sherry,
Yes.
Mr. Matty,
Yes.
Ms. Seafelt,
Yes.
Ms. Lumpkin,
Hamel, yes.
And Ms. Moore.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Thank you very much. We appreciate your time and we look forward to a successful project. And we are committed to working with the neighbors. We heard Mr. Sherry's comments. I don't know if you could see my clients, Mr. Sherry, but I will hold their feet to the fire, and we heard that, and we're committed during construction to continue with the outreach and inclusion. It's a coordinated effort with the town to address some of the other issues that were raised that aren't exactly related to our project, but we'll make those efforts. And I'm certain your elected officials and your planners will put our feet to the fire, but we're happy to do so.
Thank you, Mr. Skolnick. I appreciate it.
And I can add again, for the residents, whether they're on the call or they may hear about this later, myself and your other council persons and the mayor, we remain available, right? We remain available. So if there are issues, concerns that we can, no issue or concern is too small, right? It's easy to find us, acarter@fanwoodnewjersey.org. And I check my emails pretty regularly. We will then direct it to whatever parties need to be contacted, because maybe you're not able to reach a particular party, or you don't want to just run around and try and figure out who you should be calling. But if you reach out to us with a particular concern, then we will know the relevant parties we can reach out to, and we're very good about looping you in with those parties. So there's not, any surreptitious activity going on where we're planning to do something that you don't know about. We're available for you. We're open and transparent, and we'll remain here for you as a borough.
Thank you again, and happy
We do have
holidays.
the resolution we need to pass.
Yes. So first of all, we will carry the new business, Block 20, Lot 13, 353 North Avenue, Jukes. That will be carried to, Pat, will it be on the December 9th meeting? You're muted.
Yes.
So to the special meeting on December 9th, there'll be no further notice of that change. So we have a resolution, sorry for the delay, Block 40, Lot 30, bulk, 40 Arlene Court, Santa Maria.
I'd like to make a motion to approve the Santa Maria resolution, Block 40, Lot 30, 40 Arlene Court.
Second.
Who was that? Teresa?
Yes. That wasn't Teresa, who was?
Michelle.
Oh, Michelle, sorry.
Michelle, you did not vote the original time.
And then I don't second it.
Teresa seconds it.
Teresa? Thank you, Teresa. Okay, Mr. Carter,
Affirm.
Ms. Seefeld,
Yes.
Umar,
Yes.
Mr. Jukes,
Yes.
Mr. Sherry,
Yes.
Mr. Boris,
Yes.
Mr. Natty.
Yes.
Motion carries. Thank you. Sometime next week, I will send you the original of this, and you'll be able to get your permits. Okay.
Are they?
Sounds good. Thank you.
Oh, yeah, they're there. Excellent. Just a notice for the special meeting. Our next meeting is, we have a special meeting on December 9th. We will be being presented with a new master plan reexamination by Janki Patel and Antonios. So that's what that meeting will be for. And we will probably have some residential applications if there are others to sort of get through that meeting. And then the next normal meeting will be December 16th, 2020.
That's right.
Can I get a motion to open the meeting to the public?
I'd like to make a motion to open the meeting to the public.
So moved.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
If anybody in the public has any comments, I'll go through quickly with names, really not for any of the applications, just general comments for the planning board. Miss Salazar Tracy.
Hi, well, thank you for taking the time to listen to us, although I am a touch disappointed, as we've made it clear that this will affect us financially, a bit socially, but we appreciate the time and looking forward to working with you. Mr. Skull, take care.
Thanks. Mr. Maycheck, anything? You did, yeah.
Yeah, I'd just like to echo what Unique said, just as far as giving us a window to voice our concerns. I do appreciate the few of the council members that did show any kind of concern for the impact this is going to have on First Street. And I plan to be that person that when this does turn into a real life problem for us, to remind you on a semi-regular basis when there's dump trucks on the street, when there's back loaders that are getting into our lawns, when there's noise that goes on at ridiculous hours, you're going to be reminded of it. When there's streams of cars parked on our street, there'll be pictures of it and I'll be reminding you of it. And I'm, you know, I just want you to be accountable for the decision you're making today, because it's going to have a real world impact on the people who live on the street. And Fanwood is changing, it's changing right around us. And, you know, we flipped the coin and we came up on the wrong side and they're building, you know, all around us. So now our decision is, do we leave or not? Because Fanwood's turning into something it wasn't 15 years ago. And also for Mr. Sullivan, I'm still waiting for a response from that email I sent you last month.
Thank you. Mr. Warren, I did have an opportunity to review the 1980s planning board application from the 1990s. You had mentioned, and is there a condition of resolution that you?
Ray, maybe.
Can people, if you're not talking, please mute?
And I'm thinking, Ray, do you think maybe you could give him a call about something?
Well, this is specific to Warren's inquiry.
I mean, I'd be happy if the response came in the form of an email, so I have a record of it, but.
Because I have been reviewing the planning board files for the PNC Bank from the 80s and the 90s. And I haven't found a condition of a resolution. And I was curious if there is it an easement agreement or was it a condition of a resolution?
It's an easement agreement. And I have copies, I have paper copies of it.
Okay, can you provide me with a PDF copy of that? Because I have a box in my car that I've been reviewing with the planning board files, and I haven't seen a condition of resolution which speaks to the hedgerow and the fence. And I'd like to address that.
Okay, I can come up with it.
Okay, that would be great. I appreciate that, and I'll take a look at that.
Okay.
All right, thank you.
Appreciate it. That's all I have.
All right, thank you. Mrs. Matiak, sorry.
You'll be hearing from us in the next year, so.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And I think Jay Carvett was part of the applicant.
Yeah, Gary Morris is the only one.
Gary, any comment?
Yeah, obviously it was disappointing. I still don't understand how the fire official asked for a 23-foot lane and yet
Okay.
you're planting trees in it.
But
So
not
it is
about
what
the
it is.
application.
I know. Well, again, that was just really disappointing that public safety doesn't take a priority in this situation. That's all.
Okay. Okay, seeing no one else from the public. Motion to close it to the public?
Like to make a motion to close the meeting to the public?
Teresa seconds it. All in
Second.
favor?
Aye.
All right, the meeting is closed for the public. A motion to adjourn the meeting.
Like to make a motion to close the meeting for this evening?
Second.
Adjourn.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you guys all for the long time and the long hours. That was a
Thank you very
lot
much.
of long nights.
Have a
See you,
nice
Sheelan's.
Thanksgiving. Have a nice
Yeah, see you,
holiday.
Sheila.
Thanksgiving to all.
Bye, everyone.
Thank you.
Happy Thanksgiving.
Happy Thanksgiving.